Hello lovely people, how are you all doing today? I hope you're well. I'm about the same, not expecting an overnight cure. This is another day, despite the fact that I'm wearing the same top. I realise sometimes that that might be a bit confusing. The fact is, I don't put my clothes that I've worn for the day into the laundry basket every night. I wasn't doing anything particularly manual and physical yesterday. I wasn't building up a sweat. I wasn't doing anything mucky, either cooking and splashing myself or gardening. I didn't even go into the outside world to collect outside pathogens onto my clothes. So yeah, quite simply, end of the day, undress, hang my top out. I've got a shelf in the bathroom that's the air moves around it, hang it there. It'll do for another day, and I think by doing that I probably save myself, sorry I'm just trying to rearrange things on my desk, I probably save myself a load of laundry each week. That's a huge digression. But saving money, yes. I was going to do my seed video today, but I'm feeling really fuzzy brained and it might need a bit of concentration. I might do it later, we'll see. It's a really grotty day. It's not as cold as it has been, but it's just wet all day, grey and wet. Hence we're back in the kitchen for a bit of light, because this is the lightest space and my camera copes better with it. But we'll see, I might get round to do my seeds this afternoon. I kind of ought to, because I need to put my seed order in. But that's not what this video is about. I'm carrying on in the world of being frugal. The last video, or the one before last, when I was talking about my 9 habits, I realised after I'd finished filming and I'd edited and saved everything, I missed one of my habits. Because my little list was so scratchy scrawly, because I'll have an idea that I want to talk about and I might write a few other points. Anyway, it got missed. So very briefly, my 9th habit, and I think this is a really good one, is to delete temptation from one's life. So just as I was saying, that if you're out and you think, yes, I need a new top, and you're in a shop and looking at tops, don't get distracted by everything else. Or for example, if, like when I bought my little suckers to do on the window, which I still haven't got round to, if you're going to the hardware shop, don't get distracted and, go into, next door to the hardware shop is a clothes shop, or if you're going food shopping, next door is a clothes shop or a book shop. Don't get yourself distracted. But in this modern era, our distractions, I'm going to sneeze, excuse me. Sorry, I think that may well happen a few times. I'm at a sneezy stage. I'm hoping that's good. That's my body going, get out, get out. Anyway, the point. Distractions, temptations. The problem with them these days is they're coming into our home. So one of my big habits and a sort of a tip I would suggest to all of you too is if you've got any sort of online shopping stuff on your computer, or I don't know how it quite works on smartphones, but you have apps, and maybe you have apps for different shops. The biggest culprit, Amazon, I'm not even going to talk about them today, but all those bookmarks that you may have on the computer or on the phone for any of these online shopping things, where in a moment of boredom you're waiting for a train, you're waiting at, I don't know, the doctor's surgery, you're waiting in the queue at the post office, and you go on your smartphone and you start browsing, and the next thing you know, you've put stuff in the basket online. And it's so easy to do, because I think it's even easier to do because you're not actually physically handling anything. It doesn't feel like shopping in a way. You're not physically having to hand over your hard-earned cash to someone. Boom, you spent 50 quid whilst you were waiting for a train. How mad. So I would say a good habit is to delete all of that stuff from your phone, from your computer. If you have physical paper catalogues that still come to your home, or emails. When you get those emails, just go to the unsubscribe button straight away. Unsubscribe if you're getting paper catalogues still. The exception may be, say, a seed catalogue if you still need to buy your seeds. But generally, I would say throughout the year, as those things are coming through your front door, write to the company, or sometimes there's a phone number or a thing to do online to say, please do not send me any more of that stuff. Don't have the shops bombarding your own personal space at home, because it's just too easy to end up buying stuff you do not need. Right, so that's my 9th habit. Get rid of temptation. So today, woo! Now, I don't know if you're going to be up for this. If no one's up for it, we won't bother doing this series for the rest of the year. If people are up for it, this is a series I've got planned for the whole year, with a sort of a monthly check-in and monthly ideas, as it were. So yeah, we'll see how this one goes, and if there's no demand for it, no market for it, shoot, you know, I'm not going to do the work if no one's interested. I am laying down a challenge to all of you who are up for it, to have a low spend year. I'm not going to say no spend, because just as we identified the other day, when we were talking about frugal habits, there are always going to be some sort of expenses for the vast majority of us who don't live off grid. Just preface this all by saying this video is, I guess I'm aiming this at people who are still working, or perhaps who are on a fixed income, say a pension, for example, but there is money coming in, but you just want that money to go a bit further. You're aware that maybe your spending habits have been a bit spirally, you want to get in control. This video is not aimed at folk who are, you know, below the poverty line. Being poor is not a game, it's not fun. Let's just get that out there now. But this is, like I said, this is for folk who are working, who have an income, but you may have all sorts of reasons to want to reduce your outgoings. We've touched on this a little bit in the past, but you know, whatever your reason, it might be that you want to pay off your mortgage sooner. You may be in a position where there are two of you and you're raising kids, or you're raising your grandchildren, and one of you would like to stop working so you can be at home for the kids more, especially when they're either really little, or you might be wanting to homeschool. It might be very simple that you're sick of getting the envelope through the door with the red lines around the outside, you know, the envelopes that are saying you need to pay up, your credit cards are out of control, that sort of thing. You may be thinking right now, oh, we could really do with some new kitchen appliances. You know, the fridge door falls off every time you open it, and when you close the fridge door, you have to strap it with a bungee strap to stop it falling off. I had that in my very first flat, I remember that so well. It had a bungee all the way around the refrigerator. It was quite a big one, almost like an American fridge, not quite. So you had to let the bungee off, open it, the door would clunk onto the ground, get out whatever it is you want, and then sort of put the door back into its place and tie it with the bungee. So you may be in that position where you think we could really do with a new fridge. I don't know how much a new fridge costs. Let's say, out of nowhere, let's say it's 500 quid. And at the end of every month, you've only got 10 quid left in the bank account, and you think we can't possibly save for a new fridge. Whatever your reason, yeah, I'm challenging you to have a low spend year. And by the end of the year, hopefully have money where you can pay off debt, or you have the money set aside to buy those new things that you've been needing for ages. I don't have a car. I know cars are really expensive. I know in some places you've got no choice but to have a car. you're either in a rural, isolated area, or I know, for instance, in a lot of parts of America, you just don't have the kind of public transport like we have, or at least like I have in London. I mean, I can literally walk out of the door, get on a bus, get on a train, be anywhere. I don't even have to look at a timetable. I just leave the house and there'll be a bus. So, right, let us begin. Oh yeah, and the other thing to say, I always have to state this as a bit of a disclaimer. I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not a financial expert, but I do have ideas. I can share things that I've done that have really helped me over time. If you are in a really horrible debt situation, such as with the credit cards, if you're in a situation where actually, you know, God forbid, your home is being threatened because of that, please, please, please turn this video off right now. Go online if you need to find out where to get the help, but make a call today. Don't keep stuffing those demand letters behind the broken fridge, under the sofa cushions, whatever it is. Please, please, please don't ignore it anymore. Get help today. There are, in the UK, first port of call would be Citizens Advice Bureau, and they're great. They're sort of like a gatekeeper. They can point you in the right direction to get debt advice, and free debt advice. I don't know what it's like in the rest of the world, but I'm sure there is something in your area where you can get help to work out how on earth you can get out of that pickle. So please, turn this video off now and go and get that help sorted. But for everybody else, if you're not in that much of a pickle and you have got some money coming in and you want to do a bit better with it, let's start at the very beginning. So, if you're up for it, we'll tackle a different little sort of subject each month. But for today, to begin with, to get this year kicked off, we're going to go right back to basics. And again, it's something I talked about very briefly in the habits video. Today, we want to, I want to do the, stone roses, not stone roses, doesn't matter, Oasis. We're going to look at exactly where our finances are today. We're going to examine every single possible expenditure that we've been having and that projecting forward that we need to have, and those that we can dump. So, I know there's probably a lot of you who hate maths and hate numbers. The thought of doing accounts probably horrifies you, but it doesn't have to be complicated. It can literally be 2 columns and a third column with a running balance. What I suggest you do today, after the video, please don't turn me off just yet, and it may take your whole day, but I think one whole day invested in yourself and your financial situation is well worth giving up. Go to that drawer in the kitchen, the drawer in the bureau, wherever it is, wherever you keep all your paperwork for various bills, payments, whatever it is. Grab them all out, get them all together. You might want to, if you've already got a ring binder in the house with some divider pages, you might want to make yourself a binder to get it all more organised. So you've got a section for each bill, a section for your mortgage repayments or your rent payments, a section for your car, a section for your house insurance, but all of that. Gather up all those bits of paper today, and we're going to start to get them in order. If you don't have your bank statements on paper, you'll need to do it online. But I'm going to suggest you go right back a whole year and look down your column of money going out to check where your money's going out. And any of them that are a payment that you need to make, which you will continue to need to make, such as your gas, electricity, etc., make a note. You're going to end up with, what I'd like you to, or what I suggest you end up with, is a sheet of paper where you know exactly well, as exactly as you can. I know fuel prices fluctuate and renewing insurance each year fluctuates a bit, but as good an idea as you can of everything that you absolutely still will need to pay out. Some of those things will be monthly: gas, electricity, water, council tax, rent, mortgage. You get the drift. Some of the things will be annual. Look out for the annual things. Car insurance. I think there's probably other stuff with cars, aren't there? MOT? There might be other things, I don't know, so you'll know better than me if you've got a car. One of my annual expenses, for example, is my boiler service, which is well worth doing. It's about £100 a year, but it keeps me in guarantee, and also it keeps my boiler working. So that's an annual bill. I have other annual bills to do with the building, so my ground rent, which is the lease for the land, the building insurance, the maintenance fund that we all chip into. So make sure you've clocked. Your monthly ones will probably be obvious. Your annual ones may not be quite so obvious, but just think through. Think about the house, think about the car. Another annual bill for me is my allotment rent. All those things. Good. We've got a good idea of them. Whilst you're doing that, you may also spot things like gym membership. When was the last time? Do you still use the gym? You might want to think about jacking that in, and instead of going to the gym, you could just do daily walking in the park. Other annual subscriptions. Maybe you've got magazine subscriptions. They can go. You don't need them. Quite often libraries have magazines online, so you can read them on your tablet. Check that out. If there are things to cancel, such as gym memberships or magazine, newspaper subscriptions, what have you, sometimes you can't do, some of them you won't be able to do today. Sometimes you're not allowed. They're very clever like this. They get you so that you forget and then you accidentally go into another year. But if you can't cancel one of those subscriptions until, say, June, write it on the calendar right now. Big letters on your calendar. Cancel gym subscription. Do it in colour. Paint around it. Do whatever it takes to remind you to cancel it. I'm trying to think of other things that you might... Well, you'll know for yourself. You might have subscriptions to... I know friends of mine have subscriptions to things like gin club, where you get these deliveries of lovely fancy gins and things to try for the month. Get shut of them. You don't need them. And if you really, really, really do want to try a fancy gin, pop to the supermarket, because the chances are you'll get it much, much cheaper. You're not paying for all the packaging and the fanciness and the delivery. So yeah, good. Cancel subscriptions you don't need. And now you're sat there with a piece of paper with 2 columns on your monthly expenditures and your annual expenditures. Work out how much your annual expenditures are. Divide them by 12 so you know what they cost per month. Look at all your monthly expenses and basically work out what your bottom line is every month for keeping all your basic needs going. The roof, the fuel, the water, various taxes, your vehicle if you have one. You might come up with a figure of, £1,000. I'm just going to talk in pounds and in round numbers today. If you're in the States, I'm not going to translate it into dollars. Think of it as $1,000. For another one you might have in there is, a travel card. When I was commuting in London, I would have a monthly travel card. I actually bought it annually because it worked out much cheaper. It just means you have to come up with quite a big lump of money initially in order to make the saving. And that's another thing, that might be one of your goals this year, is that you'd like to buy an annual travel card instead of monthly. You can't afford an annual today, but if you do some of this low spending this year, by the end of the year, you should have enough money to buy an annual card and make even more savings next year. So you'll come up with a monthly figure, say it's £1,000. and you'll think to yourself, right, I've got £2,000 coming in every month. If you've got a fixed wage or a fixed pension, that sort of thing, I would strongly advise having a separate account purely for all that basic stuff. And as soon as your money comes in, wage, pension, whatever your money is, as soon as it comes in, the first £1,000 is immediately siphoned off into that account. You don't touch it. That is purely for your bills. And then, you know, in 6 or 7 months' time, when one of your annual bills comes up, you know, car tax, whatever it is, you'll have been building that up in order to pay for it. And with the rest of it, well, yeah, you can do what you want with it, but if you're trying to have a low spend year, it might be worth opening a couple of savings accounts. You might open one that's your big main one for your big main goal, such as paying off some of your mortgage, buying a new fridge, whatever it is. And you might have another one that's more like an emergency fund. I think I've heard so many times folks saying, try to have 3 months worth of your salary in savings, so that should the worst happen and redundancy happens, whilst you're looking for a new job, you've got that little cushion. So you can have two savings, one for your goal and one for your should the worst happen if there's an emergency. Excuse me a second. I hope that doesn't feel overwhelming. I think for a lot of folk, just literally sitting down with all that paper and working out what's coming and going can feel really overwhelming. But please trust me, if you can do just that simple act of knowing where your money is going, I think you'll feel empowered and you can start to take control. And that's what it's about, isn't it? If you felt that you've got no control over your future, especially financially, this is how you can get a bit of control. I think it would be worthwhile. You might not be able to identify it from your old bank statements. You could even say, I'm going to start this low spend year. I'm going to start it in February because we've got a couple of things coming up. And actually, I've missed the boat with getting this video out at the beginning of January. If you're not going to start it straight away, I would say it's worthwhile keeping a pocketbook, a little notebook in your pocket, and write down every single time you spend any penny. I don't mean spend a penny in the lavatory. Actually, your lavatory is way more than 1p, isn't it? You know, a coffee, a sandwich, a dress, a book, getting your shoes reheeled, a bus. Literally every time you spend some money, make a note of it. And then at the end of the month, you can see, wow, that was really wasteful. I really didn't need that. Or, you know, getting your shoes reheeled. Actually, that was a really good spend because that's now prolonging the life of my shoes for another 2 or 3 years. It cost 10 quid to get them reheeled rather than a new pair of shoes for 50 or 60 quid. So whether you're going to start in a month and keep a notebook now of everything you spend, or if you're going to start now, I suggest another really good tool is a notebook that you start to keep right now. Again, for every single penny that's coming and going, whether it's income from a job, income from a bit of cottage industry, whatever you're in, you have a note of that. But the big thing is all of your outgoings. If you have to write down, if you have a sneaky, when you're out, if you have a sneaky coffee for £2.50 and you know when you come home you're going to have to write it into your account, it might help you think twice about, do I really need to have that coffee while I'm out? Or should I just wait till I get home and have a nice cup of coffee when I get home? So I think it's a really good idea to keep a notebook now, hopefully to kind of guilt trip you into not spending too much, but also so you can see your progress. Because I think look, you know, if you were having a New Year weight loss program, you might be having a weigh-in every week or every fortnight or so, and it's great, isn't it, to, you know, get to the end of the first week and see, I've lost half a pound or I've lost a pound. That's great and it's really motivating. If you can put your finances down in a book and see, actually, this week, I've spent £50 less than in this same week last year. How great, how motivating is that? And you might, at the back end of the book, you might even keep another column of what you're managing to put into your savings fund for whatever the goal is that you're hopefully going to reach by the end of the year, and watch it mount up. I think, you know, we all need motivation. We all need that kind of feeling of, you know, why am I doing this? Oh yeah, that's why I'm doing it. It's a good thing. It's a good thing to keep us going, because making any changes, big changes especially, we start off with so much great intention, so much purpose, so much, you know, vim and vigour about it. Hands up anyone who has ever started something in January in particular, and by the end of January, it's kind of already been given up. I've done it so many times in my younger days. That's why I don't do resolutions now. I've had that thing of, oh, I'm going to try and write 500 words every day. In the first couple of weeks, brilliant, I'm writing my 500 words. By week 3, I'm like, oh, I've done really well, so I can have a day off. Same with dieting, isn't it? I've done really well for 2 weeks. I've been eating lettuce and nothing else. I've been doing really well. I can eat a whole packet of biscuits. So yeah, I think a notebook and keeping track of A, what you're not spending, and B, in the back, what you're saving, can be a really, really useful tool. Sorry, it's been a bit stoppy-start. I keep having these sneezes. Anyway, that's pretty much it for today. It's a very simple goal today to get you started in month 1. Don't want to overwhelm you. Like I said, if you fancy this series of videos, I will continue to make them. I've got ideas for them. But all I'm suggesting today is get all your paperwork out, or if it's all online, whatever it is, assess where you're at today, assess what your absolute must-haves are that you are going to still have to keep paying for, work out what that amounts to on a monthly basis. Whatever money comes in, make sure you've now identified exactly how much you have to have for that bills, standing orders, annual things account, and keep pushing it over there. Keep a record of your spending, keep a record of your saving, keep yourself motivated. But get started today by, especially if it's a really, really hideous thing for you, stop putting it off. Stop putting it off. Get all the paperwork out, get it sorted, know where you are. Through doing that, you'll have a little idea of how last year went, and where you'll start to identify areas of waste last year, so you can start this year, set the right foot forward, and sort of promise yourself you're not going to make that kind of waste again. You're going to get on top of things. I hope you're up for it. I really do. And I think, I'm going to shut up now, but I think one of the really big keys with this is, what is your goal? I think have a really specific goal in mind. It's, you know, the analogy would be, you know, when people say, I want to get fitter. Folk who have success with that tend to set a goal. So someone might say at the beginning of January, by the end of March, I want to be able to run 5k without stopping or without even walking. It's a really clear, specific goal. And once you know the goal, you can start to work backwards to work out how to achieve it. So if your goal is to buy that new refrigerator, and you look at prices and it's like, oh, it's going to be 500 quid, and you're going to think to yourself, I need to save £50 a month in order to achieve that. And the other thing about doing it now, of course, is if it is an item like a refrigerator, I'm not talking about upgrading to some massive screen TV. You don't need a massive screen TV. I'm talking about appliances that have broken, for example. If you start doing this today, and your goal is a £500 fridge, Don't forget, of course, towards the end of November we have all that Black Friday nonsense, and I would not normally advocate looking in the sales, but if you've got one very specific thing in mind, hopefully by November you will have you'll have saved the majority of what you need for it, and then maybe it will be on sale so you can buy it from less than you've saved up for. And with that little bit of savings, you can either say, look, we've been really skimping and scrimping this year. For one night, the whole family, we're going to go to the pictures with that leftover. Or you put it back into savings and get ready to save for something else. I hope that motivates and inspires you to have a go. Let me know. We're all in it together. If you fancy giving it a go, we can update each other how we're doing. And I just wish you every success with it if you are doing it. And even if you don't have something in mind at the end, even if it's a case of getting those credit card bills brought down so you're not always worrying. I think that's a huge thing, isn't it, about when we say, you know what, I've been ignoring my finances too long, but actually they've really been worrying me, and it's a daily thing of just bringing me down a bit. So get the control back, and let's have these things not be worries in our daily lives anymore. All right, lovelies, I'll see you again really soon, hopefully for the seed sorting. Until then, please look after yourselves, stay well, get that paperwork underway. Bye for now, lovelies.